I'm going to need everyone to ignore any squeaks that come from my chair because tragically I am incapable of remedying that situation. And I'm so very sorry that it is a life situation we will all have to deal with as I sit and chat with you about the books that I bought recently, which is what we're doing today. I figured we'd try to do something easy peasy that I maybe can get off the ground in a couple of hours today. Something simple, something straightforward. So we're going to do a quick little haul of the last 5 books that I bought, and by the last 5 I mean I went to a specific place and I got a limited number of books, and those are the ones we're talking about. Maybe ideally this will grow into something where I can have other easy peasy ideas and make them happen and make them exist in the world. But being a person who has a full-time job and attempts to have a social life and be close to my family and maintain my relationships in the world, and also I am currently acting in a play and have rehearsal most weeknights, I fear that I am not going to be a consistent artiste in this realm, despite wanting to, despite having the desire. We'll see. Anyway, that's enough wishy-washiness of my own personal life. Kind of the first thing I want to talk about, I guess this is different from the haul, different from the I bought stuff part of the video, but I have been using this book journal this year. A friend got it for me for Christmas. It's called My Book Club Journal, and it is so silly goofy because it includes at the back it has a number of pages of prose writing about how to have a book club and how to join a book club and like etiquette for being in a book club, and some of them are very funny because like it gives you the advice that you should be nice to people in the book club and not be the kind of person who's just like mean to other people because they disagree with you, and I thought that was a bit comical, a little bit comical, a little laughing joke for those of us who are adults in the world. But yeah, it's got all the classic things that reading logs do. It has like a page for all, like the table of contents page that's like the short list, and then it has multiple pages in the middle for you to write like notes and questions about each book that you're dealing with. And I've been using it all year, like really successfully so far. And it's been interesting mostly because I usually track this kind of thing on Goodreads. And on Goodreads, I run into the issue where in digital space you never run out of space. Whereas here in the physical world, if I write something down on this list and then I don't fill out the second part where I finished it, it does give me pause more so than when I like just switch something onto my paused but like partially read paused shelf on Goodreads. It does give my heart more pause to see gaps on my reading log index in my physical journal than it does to see it digitally on the internet. But that's only relevant to what we came to talk about today, because today we are not talking about books I have read, we are talking about books that I am going to read, and I am so excited about all of them. Genuinely, I'm thrilled. Genuinely, I am thrilled about all of these books that I have gotten. I'm very, very... I can't wait to start them. And it's weird because I'm also procrastinating starting them because I'm so excited that I don't want to be disappointed in any way, because I think all of these are going to be bangers and they're going to be really good and fun and cool, probably. But it's the potential for them to be maybe not good that is giving me pause, because now I've gotten my hopes up and I don't want my hopes to be in vain. I don't want to hope in vain, you know? So, let's just go in order. This one was, okay, so first things first, before we get into that, the place that I went on a vacation to St. Louis, Missouri, visiting, you know, family and friends and stuff like that, and while there, went to the Leviathan bookstore. It's an adorable, cute little bookstore that I always love when I go to bookstores to try to find things that I've never heard of to buy so that I can associate that reading experience and that book almost entirely with the bookstore that I've gone to and the trip and the vacation, instead of having like a myriad of like sources of information about that thing that I can like link it back to memory wise. I want to tie that book, like I want to tie the souvenir book really, really strongly to the place that I have gone. And so I try to find stuff that I've never heard of. But I did go to the bookstore with an enabler. The person that I went book shopping with that day did not discourage me, and so I bought more than I was maybe intending. So we do have a couple of books that were on my TBR before I went there, but we also have things I had never heard of before that called to my soul that I now own and will read eventually. Very cool. With all that said, the first thing that I got has been on my TBR for about a year. It came out last June, and I think I found it on a Goodreads recommendations list. It is called This Princess Kills Monsters by Rye Herman, and it's got this gorgeous like watercolory cover that I really, really love. It's a fantasy book. The thing about this book, because it's like the tagline, the subtitle of this book is The Misadventures of a Fairy Tale Stepsister, and the back says, someone wants to murder Princess Melilot. This is sadly normal. Which I love. And I love everything, so it's giving, like, normal fantasy. It's giving normal fantasy book, in many, many ways. There's a little bit of fun, it's a little bit light, it's not like a dark epic fantasy, even like the cover design is giving like a little fluffy, and I love that about it. The thing that caught my attention and made me want to read it, and continue to want to read it almost a year later, is the sentence, soon she has to contend with near constant attempts on her life, a talking lion that sets bewildering gender tests, and a king who can't recognize his true love when she puts on a pair of trousers. And I want to know what the author means by bewildering or what the marketers mean, I guess. The author doesn't usually write the blurb on these things. I want to know what they mean by bewildering gender tests. Who is this talking lion? And what is he doing in the world that he is setting these tests? Why does the gender need to be tested? What does that mean? I want to know. I have questions. It was released during Pride Month, and it was on the Goodreads, like, Pride books, like, recommendations list, so I believe it is queer in some way, but I don't know how. And I have questions. I have so many questions. I'm really excited about it. Genuinely cannot wait. The next one, these aren't in any particular order, by the way. I have them on a little shelf right off of here. I don't know if you can see them. Not in any particular order as well, just so we're clear on that practice. The next one I got is Vampires at Sea by Lindsay Merbaum. So this is... It's got this absolutely fabulous cover. On the back, it calls it a smutty horror comedy. And it says that it is about two immortal vampires who go on a cruise and then meet. One of them becomes enchanted by an alluring and possibly magical, non-binary social media influencer named Heaven. And then the other vampire, her true nature is unleashed, is what it says on the back, which I'm taking to mean that she goes on some kind of rampage through this cruise. And I love a good little vampire story, and the idea of vampires on a cruise whose relationship is torn apart by a non-binary social media influencer is funny to me. I want to know more. I have so much, again, I have, the back of this book leaves me with so many questions, and I think that that's one thing that I've noticed when I'm looking at books that, like, really, really makes me want to read them immediately, is, like, does the marketing blurb leave me with questions on what is the author even doing here? That's when my interest is caught, is when I have questions at the end of reading this. Is like, okay, fill in the blanks for me, I need to read the rest of it. So we're thrilled about that. The next one on my list is actually a not-binary, is actually non-fiction. So, this one's called A Muzzle for Witches by Dubravka Ugrisic. I don't know if this is how you say it. It's a work in translation, so I didn't look up a pronunciation guide before this. And it says it was translated by Ellen Elias Bursack. No, the C has an accent over it. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce the accent over the C. Anyway, this is nonfiction. This is a transcript. I believe it reads like either essays based on interview questions or a transcription of her answers to interview questions. It says on the back, as with the rest of her literary career, her final work, A Muzzle for Witches, is uncategorizable. On its surface, the book is a conversation with the literary critic Marima Omeragic, covering topics such as women in the male perspective, the culture of self-harm, and the melancholy of vanishing. But the book is more than a simple interview. It's a roadmap of the literary world, exploring the past century and all of its violence and turmoil, especially in Yugoslavia, Ugrisic's birth country, and providing a direction for the future of feminist writing. And that sounds interesting to me. I really am interested in this kind of perspective, and the way that this particular artist's, like, interaction with all of those topics, like what direction that's going to go and how we're going to talk about it. If I had a nickel for every, like, really short nonfiction book I had that used, like, witches as an allegory for women acting out of turn, I would have 2 nonfiction books that use witch in that way that are about the same length. And I think that's fascinating, so it's adding into that collection for me from a different perspective, because this is a European artist, and it is her words in translation. So I think that that's going to add an interesting perspective to it, because the last one was a very American-coded version of this. I want to know. I'm curious. I'm full of curiosity about it. This next one that I got, also one that I didn't know about before I went to this place. I found it there. It is another work in translation, this time from Spanish. It's called The Queen of Swords by Jasmina Barrera, and it is translated by Christina McSweeney. I don't have a lot of information on this, and I'm not entirely clear on exactly what it is. I found it in the fiction section of the bookstore. On the back it says, in what was at first meant to be just a short essay, Jasmina Barrera's deep curiosity keeps returning to the central question: who was the influential Mexican writer Elena Garro really? She was a writer, a founder of magical realism, a dancer, a devotee to the tarot and the I Ching, a socialite and activist on behalf of indigenous Mexicans. She was a mother and a lover who repeatedly shook off and cheated on her manipulative husband, Nobel laureate Octavio Paz. And above all, she wrote with simmering anger and glittering imagination. The Queen of Swords is a portrait of a woman that also serves as an alternative history of Mexico City, a cry out for justice, and an homage to how each individual is ultimately unknowable. It transcends mere biography, supplanting something tidy and authoritative for a sprawling experiment in understanding. And that is really interesting to me, given we found it in the fiction section. It says on the back it serves as an alternative history of Mexico City, but it also says that it's transcending the idea of biography. So I'm not entirely sure, because I'm not aware of a lot about Mexican literary history specifically, I don't know if Elena Garro, the person who's just like the subject of this biography, I don't know if that's a real person. So I have to do like some research around this book almost to figure out how it fits with reality, if it fits at all. I'm really not sure. And I haven't had the time to go and look for it yet because I haven't started any of these books. Like when I get to it, I feel like I'll want to have that context almost, or maybe I'll find out that context from the book. But if it's fiction, the book might just be like making up really realistic things about a person who doesn't exist. But maybe she did exist, but maybe this is a fictionalization of her life that's not, like it takes from her real life, but it's fictionalized, so it's not all entirely real. I really, genuinely, I don't know. I love the cover, and just like the physical feel of the book. It's a hardcover. It's got this beautiful like tarot design on the front. It's called The Queen of Swords, and I read like the first couple of pages in the store to see like if the style would kind of work for me, and I did like that. It made me curious to figure out more and to like learn more about the book and go on. So I did get it because of all of these things that intrigue me and like call to my attention and make me want to read it. But again, I don't know how much of this is real and how much of it is fiction. So that's going to be a really interesting question for me to interrogate once I actually get around to reading it. So cool. And finally, the last book that I want to talk about today. This has been on my radar for a few months. Agnes Auber's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. So this is its beautiful cover. It's a fantasy book. It gives very cozy fantasy vibes. It's giving a little bit romance novel. The main character is a woman who runs a cat rescue charity, and she needs a new home for her cat shelter. The only place that she can find is a place where the landlord is an infamous magician who is cantankerous and eccentric, but not handsome, which is implying there may be a romantic element there. Anyway, so he has like dark magic, he's like mysterious, he's infamous, and he runs an illegal magic shop out of the basement, but it's her only option for her mystical cat shelter. And so she becomes his tenant, and he becomes her landlord. Anyway, a glamorous magician comes looking for him, putting everything in jeopardy. She has to save the shelter. He's everything she thinks she doesn't need in her life: chaos, mischief, and a little too much adventure. But as she gets to know him, she discovers that he's more than the dark magician of legend, and that she may be ready for a little intrigue and romance in her life. After all, second chances aren't just for rescue cats. And I can't explain, it's hard to put into words exactly how much this delights me. I'm delighted by this idea. I was looking into this. I was trying to find, in December of last year, I was trying to find Christmas present ideas for my friend who used to work at an animal shelter, and who loves animals and has a cat. And I found this, but tragically it didn't come out until this year, 2026. I needed to wait a few months for it to be published, and I couldn't get it for a Christmas present for my friend, but it still ended up on my list, and I still did eventually find and purchase it. So now I get to read it, and I think this one's going to be delightful. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of thoughts outside of that. I don't know. This one doesn't necessarily leave me with questions in the same way. I just think this one's going to be like a fun romp that's going to while away a few afternoons of my life. And I think it's going to delight me. And I am looking forward to and very hopeful that that will be true. So there you have it. Those are the most recent books that I have bought for myself.